We're now joined by security and defense expert Kabiru Adamu. Kabiru, glad to have you join us on News Night. Right, in the past, Governor El-Rufai had said that everything and anything should be done to save the victims, but he is averse to negotiations. What's your sense of Kaduna being a sort of theater of war? What's the way out?
First off, I would like to commend the Kaduna state government for documenting security incidences within the state. This is the second quarter report that has been released, and that second quarter report gives the metrics in terms of clear indications of where, what, how, and who is involved in all of these incidences. Now, also very importantly, it gives an indication of where the government feels there are lapses, and it's trying to address those lapses. Now, in this regard, the government has indicated clearly the shortfall in security agents, what it calls boots on the ground. It has provided, in terms of the mapping, what I would call heat mapping, where there are more incidences, and then where, of course, there are less incidences. Now, what it has not mentioned, and this is what is a bit surprising to a lot of us, is the so-called ungoverned spaces, where these bandits hide and are able to hibernate and carry out their activities. I would like to hear, as a security professional, what the state government is going to do to dominate those ungoverned spaces, not necessarily by security presence, but novel ideas that would turn those spaces into economic spaces that would be beneficial to the government. Now, having said that, Kaduna is one of the most garrisoned states in Nigeria in terms of military and other security forces presence, and yet we're having this type of challenges. So the next question that arises is, what is the government doing to address the socioeconomic grievances that are the drivers of the security challenge? Unfortunately, I also haven't had that yet, but I must say, as a word of sort of caution, I'm yet to read the second quarter report. I've only seen summaries of it. Perhaps embedded in there are policies by the government to address the socioeconomic grievances. Now, I'll quickly mention some of the socioeconomic grievances. One of them is political, where you have a huge divide between Southern Kaduna and the governor himself. Opportunists, especially political opportunists, who want to create the kind of situation we have in Kaduna, will be taking advantage of that. So what is he, as a governor, doing to address that particular challenge? Second one is around unemployment and poverty that is quite high in the state. What are they doing really to reduce that unemployment and poverty, as well as illiteracy that is affecting the state? So some of these factors are not necessarily security. They are more political and socioeconomic. And I'm hoping that, as I read the full report, that perhaps there will be parts of that in the report on how he's going to address those drivers of insecurity and not necessarily, boots on the ground.
In that speech by the Kaduna State Governor El-Rufai, he seems to have come up with some way forward, talking about the need for added resources. He's saying they're not enough, there's need for technology and all of that. And he says also there is a need for an unconventional approach. I wonder what you think that unconventional approach should be. He's also called for simultaneous military operation across the state and neighboring states like Niger. What exactly would you say then is the way forward? Because according to Shehu Sani, former senator representing Kaduna Central, it says 23 local governments, out of 23, only 2 are governed, of course, by the state. The rest by bandits and terrorists.
Ngozi, with due respect to distinct former Senator Shehu Sani, that's a bit, I would say, pedestrian. The facts, and apart from the figures released by the Kaduna state government, my consultancy keeps a database of security incidences across the state. Only 3 local governments have a level of challenge that would require what if at all we're going to use that word, a high threat level or extreme threat level. And I'll quickly mention Igabi, Chikun, and I think more recently, I've forgotten the third one, but there's a third one. Now, to suggest that the entire state, 23 local government, is challenged like that, I think there's a bit of politics involved. And I'm not a politician. I'm not going to delve into why he may be suggesting that. But having said that, the number of deaths in Kaduna State, the number of security incidences in Kaduna State are worrisome, and they need to be addressed. Even if it's one incident and one person that is being killed, it should concern every Nigerian. And so to that extent, I would say we need unconventional sort of ideas like what the governor has mentioned. And what could be these unconventional ideas? I wouldn't go further than intelligence. I mentioned earlier on the ungoverned spaces. Now, why is it impossible really to dominate those ungoverned spaces when we know? I mean, Ngozi, think about it. If there is no ungoverned space for these bandits to keep 100 students, when they abduct 100 students, where are they going to take them to? They can't keep them in communities where people are living, because of course people would know about it and security agencies would go after them. But when they have this type of spaces to keep students for months, then of course it would continue. Second point is the weapons that they are able to have access to. Then the supply chain that of the industry that has emerged that is feeding into this kidnap for ransom industry. Not too long ago, last month, a baker was arrested, or someone supplying bread to them. Now that's the kind of intelligence that I'm hoping that perhaps the government, when he said unconventional method, well, intelligence come in two forms. One of them is the human intelligence, and then of course technology. And this is where I would recommend the Lagos State model. Lagos State has a security trust fund that is being run like a project. Corporate organizations, individuals, the government itself puts money into that fund, and then that money is managed transparently. Now, this is what I would expect a state like Kaduna to come up with, where they would set up a fund and people would be able to donate. A lot of us are concerned about what is happening in Kaduna. Now, one of the easiest ways we can contribute is into a transparent fund where we know the funds is being used judiciously to address the security challenge. Now, my worry is over time, all we see is vehicles being bought for the security agencies or funds being given to them to buy fuel or things like that. No, novel ideas would include buying technology to track the activities of these bandits. And Kaduna has already started the platform really to allow that. The quarterly report it releases is quite novel. I'm not aware any other state does that. So those are good steps that can be built upon. Metrics that would show in clear terms key performance indicators within the security sector that would tell us these deaths are being brought lower, month by month. And then why are they being brought lower? How many forests are being dominated by these bandits? How do we start reducing these ungoverned spaces so that we can give ourselves a target? Today, there are 5 forests, and these forests are dominated by bandits. We want at the end of the next quarter for this forest to be dominated by security agencies, and this is how it can be done. Now, those are unconventional and novel ideas that I'm hoping to see going forward.
Kabiru Adamu is security and defense expert joining us on Newsnight. Thank you so much.